All right, welcome back to the Autistic Tidbits and Tangents podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kara Diamond. I'm an autistic teacher and university lecturer at the University of Toronto and author. And I'm going to hand it over to my next co host.
Oh no, there's only two of us. Hello, everybody. My name is Bruce Petherick. I'm an autistic musician and coach, and must be some other things coming up in my life soon. I am in Vancouver, and right now I'm tiny melting because I do not handle the heat. It's probably 22 degrees outside. But
Oh, it's been cooler here. What a weird summer. We are really excited though to have Michelle Alexandrovsky with us, who is an autism researcher at the University of Toronto and the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. She's conducting participatory work that critiques cognitive tasks commonly used in autism research. She also collaborates on studies of neuroaffirmative care, camouflaging, and cross neurotype evaluation. The overarching goal of her research is to improve the understanding of autistic people, and through that, help foster greater acceptance, better supports, and autistic flourishing. Alongside her research, Michelle enjoys curating collections, traveling to new and familiar places, and listening to the same songs on repeat. Oh my goodness, like my favorite bio ever. There's so much, like I want to unpack like every other word. I want to ask you so many things. Well, welcome. We're so glad you're here with us today.
Thanks for having me. It took me a while to come up with a good bio, so I'm glad you like it.
Oh, it's so good. It's got everything.
I should also disclose that I am a participant in one of Michelle's projects at the moment, which is how we
Not a
know.
participant,
Okay,
a co-author and group member.
I was going. It's not participant, but I'm not sure exactly what the
Yeah.
words. But
So it's
thank you.
participatory research. That's so exciting.
Oh, we'll talk about it too, as much as
Right.
we can.
Yes, and that's sort of our topic today. We're going to talk about all sorts of things, but especially research into the lives of autistic people for and by autistic people.
Welcome to the Autistic Tidbits and Tangents podcast.
Candid conversations between autistic off-hour professionals.
With lots of tangents in different accents. Each person's viewpoints on this podcast reflect their backgrounds and temporal perspectives at the time of recording, and do not necessarily reflect the views of everyone else. We believe that personal growth comes from listening and reacting to multiple perspectives, and that conversations can be catalysts for change, connection, and greater understanding. Thanks for being part of our community. Content warnings for this episode include mentions of stigma, autism research, diagnostic norms, cultural narratives, and there are some curse and ableist words.
Well, Michelle, I'm really curious how you got into this work, this line of research.
Um, Semi-accidentally. Uh, I was
Awesome.
so I always knew that I wanted to do vaguely psychology research, I think since I was maybe 15.
Okay.
Um, but I was really bad, as most people are and should be, at narrowing down what I want to do. So I just picked a good psychology program that is in a cold place and far from home, and started putting myself into every lab I could find. And eventually I stumbled upon Will Cunningham, with whom I did my undergraduate thesis, technically. And then he mentioned that he has an autism project, and I was like, I want to do that. Um, and that was kind of at the same time that I got diagnosed,
Oh,
kind
cool.
of.
Oh.
And yeah, so the ball rolled from there, and then I started being like, you should ask autistic people what they think instead of assuming, because that was just intuitively correct to me.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Wow. And did your work with Will, did that inform you like getting a diagnosis? Like how did that come about?
No, I mean, The reason I got a diagnosis was because I kept seeking help and wasn't getting the answers that were explaining my quote unquote issues. Um, I got diagnosed with anxiety first and then PTSD, and then it was like, well, nothing's helping.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that's such a common story,
Mm.
unfortunately, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is why, yeah, I love that you are really so focused on neuroaffirmative care, right? And
Yeah.
cross neurotype evaluation. That's such a cool concept to me.
Yeah, it took me a bunch of iterations to get to that one. It started with synchrony and relatedness and whatever, but I think evaluation is the one we're calling it for now. We'll
Yeah.
see if that changes, but yeah, my that was my undergraduate thesis primarily and some other projects in the lab that I collaborate on. Um, and we essentially see how people evaluate media videos of autistic and non-autistic people.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Well, I know there are some studies that show things like um, online communication is judged more positively than sorry, online communication of autistic people is judged more positively by non-autistic people than like in person or visual, whatever you would call like when you can see the person.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think the papers I read generally say something like online communication may be easier for autistic people, or
that's for sure.
there's a different autistic culture online or stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I thought that might be interesting to explore a little
Yeah.
more, especially considering the recent, I don't know, decade or so recent shift towards like double empathy and
Hmm.
um, you know, notions that autistic people may be more comfortable with other autistic people.
Yes, and Alyssa Hillary Zisk has a great chapter where she talks about um, cross neurotype communication, and she talks about neurocultures, and it's such a cool idea to me that and it makes a lot of sense that we share some element of common experience, even if we have a different constellations of traits and things that are difficult for us. We share an experience of stigma that like I don't know, just for many of us, I would imagine this is a sweeping generalization, but I feel like we can extend one another a level of understanding and curiosity that maybe is not as present in other interactions.
I would even say that it's not just the stigma, it's the, sensory and
Mhm.
whatever differences in world perception that kind of cascade into understanding more so what you would think and feel in a certain situation.
Yeah,
And stigma does play a huge role in that, but
yeah,
I wouldn't say from
just
my
stigma. Yeah,
personal perspective that that's the
yeah,
main thing.
yeah. Yeah, and certainly like even if you don't share the same sensory issues, just the idea of having those needs,
Yeah,
even if they're somewhat competing, like I can empathize with my partner and all of the things that bother him that don't bother me and vice versa,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
That on that aspect, it's also it's. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, well, the other day, about sensory issues, and he came back, of course, with, "Well, everybody has sensory issues." And it's like, yeah, but here's the point. Here's the thing. It's like I can't control my response to it. So when I get overwhelmed, I am totally overwhelmed, and trying to find a way to get rid of that overwhelm is incredibly difficult. And things like, for me, for instance, I'm going to bring up summer because that's the point. I don't temperature regulate.
Me either.
I'm having to check in with my body all the time, constantly. So I am tired the whole time. So we have um, there's street workers. Sorry, city workers. Don't say street workers, Bruce. Um, there are city workers doing a water pipe replacement. Now, it has to happen. Nobody argues about that. But for 2 weeks from 7 to 7, there's constant drilling, which
Oh my
if
gosh.
it wasn't summer, it just becomes so overwhelming. Yes, it's still it's upsetting for neurotypical people, but I don't have the mechanism to regulate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's an excellent point. Yeah.
Michelle, can it's funny that I have talked to you maybe 5 times, Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
in a group, but I didn't know about the media aspect because media is really super interesting, really interesting for me.
It's, I mean, we're still writing that up and revising and revising and revising it. Um, so I don't know how much in details I can go into it since some of it is not published. I did present about it in a conference, so I think it's kind of fine. But I'm teetering lines here.
Well,
So
No
that's
problem.
that little fine line. So actually, Mike, and without going into the specifics, Mike, the question I have of you is, are you also looking at historical representation? And why I say that is like obviously, let's say Rain Man, who's the only autistic person anyone knows 20 years ago. 10 years ago, we had Sheldon. I'm not too sure if there was anybody else. Well, and
Yes.
5 years ago we had 4 or 6 characters, and now we've got many, many more characters. So
yeah.
the frequency of more openly autistic, specifically characters, is in the media. Has that changed the perception by just pure numbers?
I so from the brief review that I did in order to write an introduction for that paper, yes, but we're looking more so into like self-made presentations, so social media, and
Okay.
more authentic reality TV, if you can say that.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. Um, rather than like scripted written characters that are not necessarily played by autistic people, um, which I have my own issues with. But yeah, like I definitely think that reviews show that positive representation influences reduced, or more comfort or whatever, or there are papers that suggest at least that representations that are controlled by autistic people and are positive role models for autistic people and positive representation for non-autistic people could obviously benefit. But I don't know that there are studies that are like showing correlations about that or anything like that.
It's one of those gut feeling things, which is probably
Yeah.
true, but yeah, I mean, it's almost as if like people should do podcasts with autistic co-hosts with
Almost.
mainly autistic guests. Mm.
That would be cool. Someone should definitely do that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so are you allowed to talk about the project you're both involved in?
Kind of same thing, because I'm trying to get the final couple people to respond to my survey and
Oh,
then
I know
write
this.
it up.
Hence my question, and as a suggested question, please continue.
Yeah. So I can't like read out our results or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But again, like I presented it at a conference, so it's not like a big secret, at least the basics of it.
So tell me the basics. What's the project? Like what was the goal of the project?
So it all started with me being overly ambitious and doing
As
a
always, yeah.
ginormous review
Yeah.
of every cognition and perception topic I could think of and seeing what quote unquote popular tasks are mentioned in reviews in the autism literature. And by tasks, I mean like stuff people do in a lab.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're not like self-report
Yeah.
questionnaires. Um, and, and then having to sift through, I think 800 and something papers to then include 500 and something papers and have over 12,000
Oh my gosh.
mentions of tasks that I then needed to sort by domain and topic and task type.
This
And
sounds
so
like a
then
perfect task for an autistic person.
it was really intense for an
Yeah.
autistic person. But then my supervisor and I kind of settled on sticking to eye tracking because
Okay.
it's a smaller domain
Yeah, you can
and
narrow
something that
in.
I could obviously see issues with.
Yes.
Um, so eye tracking as a measure of social attention.
Mhm.
Um, and then I was like, I'm going full participatory and nobody's gonna stop me. Uh, so I got myself a group of people who are all autistic, half are researchers, half are not researchers. or at least not researchers within autism research, to then critique a few of those tasks and come up with ways to eventually make them maybe better for use in autistic people.
Wow. I'm wondering, like, so before you narrowed in on just the eye tracking and you were reviewing all of these tasks, like, what were some of the things you were noticing that were problematic with the variety of tasks that were out there to assess autism?
Everything.
And
Yeah.
Everything.
A lot
I
of
know
things,
this, but I want to hear.
But yeah, you're right. The reason I wanted to do that to begin with is because, well, most of those tasks are not designed with autistic input, don't really consider sensory processing or like uncertainty in the lab, or being in such a weird and sterile environment, which I could never really get over while I was running participants. So can't, like, definitely not as a participant, which I also have been. So yeah, I just wanted to get like a clear picture of what's out there and what's popular, and then figure out ways to fix everything, which is, totally realistic and not at all arrogant.
I have to say, like, and trying not to get into the end process here, but certainly the feeling I have of the group discussions we've had with the other participants,
Members.
Sorry.
I only keep clarifying that because you're supposed to have control of the process.
And I'm going to ask you about that. The other members, one, the universal everything is wrong, but two, I felt, and certainly the sort of, when I got involved with the research was to change the freaking world. Like, yeah.
Which, yeah, I mean, I genuinely think that we have interesting results, that I am very supported and lucky with my supervisor to, have him let me do all this and tell me that I'm doing a good job. So I may be a little biased, but I do think that we have a good paper coming, in the sense that it has input from many diverse autistic people about how to think about those tasks and about how to improve those tasks.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
The data is definitely showing also that there is interest groups within the other members. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but there's certain things that we were asked to talk about that to me were very obvious. And to other members, it wasn't that obvious because something else to them was more obvious and more important. And it was like, it's been wonderful for me to see that feedback, because it's also the kind of, there is a really quite easy general thrust. Everybody's got a very sort of similar perspective, but what's more important for people is not as obvious for me, but it also means that it's one of the great things I think about the results is pointing out to people doing this work, setting up the research, that you have to be thinking about this.
Yeah, I mean, I also think a big point is just not treating us as a monolith.
Yeah.
People care about different things. Researchers care about different things than non-researchers. Some people see value in those kinds of tasks. Other people, I think, why spend time on it, which, fair enough. I don't know. I think in general, there is a tendency when, as a researcher, you write a paper to like really narrow your focus into these articles are going to make my argument make sense. And then you forget to look
at
everything else. I really struggle with it because I'm like, well, I need to consider everything in existence in order to write a good paper. That's also not true, but
it's hard to narrow down. I completely relate.
Now, you see, I have a solution. My PhD was in orchestration treatises. And when I was doing my going from my master's to my PhD, there was 64 papers written in history. That was it.
So just
So it's
pick
like
a really niche topic.
niche topic. And in fact, because I was also looking at Michel Foucault, I was the first musicologist to be looking at Foucault and in a historical perspective. Oh yeah, that's the way to do it. Still,
Well,
glad
that's what I was
that's not done.
trying to do. That did not happen. But you know,
But you're all the better for it. You know, you just learn so much, and I feel like it's one of the things that I love about research too is you're always absorbing new things and realizing how much you don't know, and just like it my curiosity is always being stimulated, and I'll never get sick of that, I don't think, you know.
I also think, I mean, the way I kind of got into this was by being overly blunt and critical, and so my research ends up being that,
Yeah.
which is good because it stimulates discussion,
Yeah.
but I definitely need to remember to just narrow my focus sometimes.
For yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
To make it a little bit easier. One thing at a time.
Well, my
it's
committee members will be happy to hear this, so.
it's interesting in the research that we've been working on, the research we're looking at. The one thing I would actually say is that the researchers are not showing curiosity.
Mm.
They all seem to be, and maybe it's the papers that we chose because there are, commentaries out on kind of similar topics that we come up with, but, from a different angle. Um, but the papers that ended up being popular task mentions
Mhm.
tend to very much come from the deficit assumption of your social attention is different and therefore you're immature.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
and
very
that
narrow.
leap. Mhm.
Yeah.
Rather than actually asking us what's going on. I mean, certainly for me, because I've read lots of eye gaze studies too, and it got me really thinking about like, well, what do I do during interactions? And like, it varies depending on who I'm talking with, of course. But if it's someone I don't know well, often I am looking at their mouth because of auditory processing. I'm using that to make sure that I'm registering what they're saying. And then other times, if I'm in a really like socially anxious situation, like it's a party, I'm being introduced to people, I don't remember anything. Like I don't even remember their
I have
faces.
no
It
idea
just
what I'm doing.
this cortisol, adrenaline thing, I don't know what exactly, and nothing sticks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay, so in the latest autism conference, the international one that I and my lab go to, and I adore for the context, there was a booth giving a 4-minute autism diagnosis with eye tracking,
Oh my gosh.
and I scored borderline autistic. And the guy was like arguing with me, saying, you don't look autistic, which I'm like, we still say that. Okay, cool. Thanks.
And it's like, do they take account for masking behaviors and like
Okay, so they show videos, and the videos are sometimes like clearly geared for children.
of course, it's like the frog test.
And I'm watching them and I'm thinking, okay, if I'm autistic, I'm not supposed to be looking at eyes. But like sometimes I am looking at eyes, and sometimes I'm thinking, well, I'm supposed to be looking at eyes because that's what I've been taught.
Socially, yeah, acceptable.
And then I'm sitting there like in a spiral of A, trying to pay attention to those videos, B, thinking what I'm supposed to be answering,
Yes.
C, trying not to like cheat my way into an autism diagnosis, but also cheat my way out of one.
Yes,
So
yes.
there is no way that was any type of accurate as to
No.
how I actually interact with the world.
Yeah.
So yeah.
This is especially amusing because you are also an actually autistic presenter
And
about
research.
autism, at presenting a paper about their research
Yeah.
in the autistic conference. Like,
They did not come to my poster. I invited them. So
Oh, they should
Yeah.
have kept.
Because I know the topic really well, that yes, that would have embarrassed them.
Oh my goodness. That is
That's so.
mind-blowing.
Why is this so stupid? Why is it no? Why is this so? I could use worse words. Actually, I think the question I want to ask, I can't ask because this is the end result of our research. So I won't. Let me just say that I cannot comprehend that that is still a thing.
Well,
It-
I mean, it makes sense to me. Like, there's so much ableism. So people go in with a hypothesis and set out to prove that hypothesis. So it's like exclusionary, right? They're not looking for other alternatives. They're just looking for things that confirm what they already think.
I also
Um,
understand why people try to do that. Like, I understand that
they want an easy answer.
diagnosis is
Yeah,
very difficult and we want to make it faster, quicker, more objective,
more
quote unquote.
accessible.
Um, like to increase access to resources and all of that jazz, but I don't know if that's helpful, especially for subsets of autistic people who are not babies and have more complex social experience
Yeah.
than looking at things.
And not to mention, like, autistic people might not be the only people with different eye contact.
Yeah.
Like, it's eye contact is a cultural construct too. Like, there are cultures where it's
Yeah.
disrespectful to, make a lot of eye contact. So it's
I mean, also for like, you
only
don't even
one
have to
small
go
part.
that far, even for
Yeah.
different diagnostic categories or whatever. Like, people have different social communication outside of autism. We're not the
Yeah,
only ones.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Michelle, do you think in external social interactions that you make correct, and for listeners, I've just put quotation marks around the word correct, eye contact?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think, okay, so I have had comments from teachers and peers all my life about how I smile inappropriately and I am shy and whatever. And I am an introvert, but I am not shy, generally speaking. So that has always confused me. But then once I realized I'm autistic, I'm like, oh, okay, I just, haven't really felt the need to force myself to do eye contact outside
Yeah.
of knowing that I'm supposed to because it's not necessarily polite, but like my my wish to make eye contact comes from the need to appear like assertive and
Yeah.
confident rather than
Yes.
because I'm supposed to.
If I may say this again, because I've had quite a number of interactions with you online, you don't look autistic. Again, for listeners, I'm putting quotation marks around that. But it's interesting, within 30 seconds of our first conversation, there were other aspects of your autism that came out really, really quickly to me. And
Bruce spots
acknowledging,
us. He's the reason I got diagnosed. We'll let
but
them know.
and I acknowledge that you knew that I was autistic, so probably masking, camouflaging was lowered for you.
I will, okay. So I also know members from our group through a fellowship that I'm part of, and I met with them recently during the summer, and they're like, "Who are you when you talk to a group? I do not know you." I become this smiley, you know, appeasing person the moment I talk in a group. And one-on-one or like with people that I know deeply, I'm just like
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
gone.
mean, I have different, like, I have like presenting Kara is a
Yeah.
very distinct persona, and like, yeah, and I used to, even before I knew I was autistic, I was like, oh, time to be presenter Kara. Put on this role, put on the clothing, like,
I
yeah,
also think that with like participatory research, because I'm trying so hard to have everyone be as comfortable as possible, but also keep things on track, but also like accommodate as much as I can, but also make sure people are not mad at me because this process is so flexible and like trying to capture as much as I can, I end up being this like everything is great, everything is fine. I hope everyone is okay. And then on my own, I'm like, Jesus Christ, please
Yeah,
answer my email.
yeah, yeah.
I want to ask about that because I know, again, because part of this process, you ask us to respond within 2 weeks. You give us a timeline, and then you give us a warning. And then even me, who, let's say I moderately like the sound of deadlines pushing past, I was a week late from our last presentation.
Yeah.
I felt really bad because I'm seeing these emails from you, but these emails are so polite.
Yeah.
And yet I will say, and this is the language changes over the 3 periods. One is very, oh, it's all fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now it's all fine, but please. And this one's like, I'm just making sure you're okay. And I'm going, oh, I'm late. No, that's, and I'm letting you down. Like I feel that in a good way that I'm letting you down. But you said just before that you're still waiting for other responses. So how has it been dealing with such lunatics like us who
Um, Hard. It's also, I think the most difficult part of my job for me is emails. I find emails incredibly difficult. Um, but yeah, chasing after people to get them to answer me. And I understand that like this is not everyone's center of life and thinking, but yeah, it's definitely the hardest part of this process is getting people to do the things that I need them to do.
Interesting because, like, okay, I prefer emails because I can control the content, but it is so draining because the amount of effort I put into a single email,
Yeah.
like you read it over multiple times to make sure you're conveying what you're conveying, and then you get to the end too, and you're like, oh, I forgot to say, I hope you're well at the top or whatever, like the little social niceties I have to go in and add in afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
we,
so I find that draining.
we need to develop or have someone write us a little email writing app that puts dear name, hope you are well, hope
There's
the kids.
Goblin tools.
I've just heard about Goblin
Yeah,
tools.
it's a thing. You can plop your, ineffective,
In the chat.
cold, to the point, direct and efficient autistic email into it and like flower it up or whatever it's called.
Oh my gosh.
Um, yeah, and then it's like, hey, hope you're well. Please do this. I very much respect and love you as a person, all of that.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
Or distressing. So I am very much on a big anti-AI kick. In fact, I was almost in tears about AI yesterday, and it's to do with YouTube AIing everything now without
Mhm.
permission and without anybody knowing. And anyway, um, I still, within a sentence or two, can tell an AI generated text. And an organization I used to be involved with, no. So many people are just pushing AI text around for emails and texting and Instagram and things like that. Although I said, we need a little app for us to be reminded, it still has to be my words.
yeah.
And that's the bit that, um, if Kara sent me an email like that, I'd be on the phone, and I don't use the phone very often. In fact,
You'd
Kara, I
be like,
think,
this is an emergency.
well, it sort of is. It's like there's a joke in Big Bang Theory that Amy says Sheldon's drunk because he incorrectly used a comma.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm not at that level, but that's yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny. I
Even if I use a subject line with you, like, what I mean, I'll use a subject line with when I'm introducing myself to a podcast guest, but that's about it. I hate subject lines. And in fact, I had a student, he was in probably about grade 7 when this happened, but he sent me an email to ask about something, and his subject line was read the email. And I was like, because that's how I always think. It's like, if you want to know the subject, read the email.
Yeah. I think For me, when it comes to groups, I'm really like I try very, very hard on my emails. And then when it comes to like my supervisor or my
Yeah,
teammates,
just
if I
watch.
send them something like that, they're like, "Are you okay?" One
What's
time I
going
think I sent my supervisor an email in the morning and he was like, "Why are you awake?
on?
Is everything all right?"
Oh my
And then I'm like,
gosh.
"I'm jet lagged. You're right. This is not normal."
Oh, that's so funny. Oh my gosh.
And yet, what we're talking about is how this mode of communication that Cara and I think both like email over almost anything, gives us control, but it's also reflecting our personality. And the fact that your supervisor's going, is something okay because you never email in the morning? I think that's actually wonderful. That they're paying attention to
Yeah.
not only the words, but how you're sending. It's non-social, it's sorry, it's hidden communication,
Yeah.
but on our terms.
Yeah. Well, and what's unusual to me, I used to have a boss who would say like, don't put so much in writing, like don't tell people so much. I guess they were worried about like lawsuits, things like that. If you say the wrong thing, you're going to be held to it. It's like I don't say the wrong, like I don't think you understand my process. These aren't hasty emails.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I'm going to make sure that every line is exactly what I mean, you know?
Yeah.
But that was weird to me that some people feel that way about like don't put things in writing, whereas to me I would rather put things in writing and be entirely clear.
Yeah, I want the documentation. I want to know exactly what
Yeah,
happened when and why and
yeah.
who said what. I definitely agree with that.
And I can't, I have
My
trouble
main
taking
issue,
notes with phone calls. So
I hate phone calls even more. I just don't have to do them as much. And the thing that I do have to do a lot is emails. So it ends up being like, oh my God, am I saying the wrong thing? Who am I writing this? Especially to people who I already know, it's whatever. To groups and to new
yes.
people, emails are the bane of my existence. And I will be trying to get a research assistant to help me
Oh
with it next
yes.
time.
I will keep my fingers crossed for you.
In the medieval world, we would call that a scribe, and we all need
Mhm.
scribes.
Oh,
Um, Michelle, you said you don't like phone calls, but do you, is this mode easy or easier?
I think it's easier than phone calls because now at least I can see a face.
I
Tones are
agree.
like deaf. I don't know what this is. But at least like I have a face to also help with understanding what's going on. Um, and I'm much better at all of this than I used to be
Yeah,
as like a teenager. Oh my God, that was awful.
really.
I would like cry before phone calls. Um, and I
I
would
get
not
over
understand what's
dread.
happening too because I wasn't diagnosed. But no, now I'm much better at handling and like I can make a phone call and not think about it for an hour before and
Mm.
after. Yeah.
Yes. I like practice phone calls. One of my biggest pet peeves is like, so I'm a classroom teacher of children. If I get a spontaneous phone call from a parent and then like I will almost never accept it anyways right away. I'll be like, take a message, but the message is just call them back. I'm like, I don't know what I'm calling them about. Like the dread that builds. And then in the school phone, like it's not in a private setting with a computer. So if they need specific information, I don't have that with me. Like tell me what I'm so that I can come prepared with the information that you need.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
the dread builds and builds and builds.
I totally in agreement on all this. My wife messaged me 2 days ago and said, please come. She was at work. Please come downstairs and meet me.
Mhm.
Now,
Jesus.
it was an hour early. No. So this is because our relationship is so super close.
Okay.
It's an hour early. Instantly, I know something's wrong. I
Yeah.
read the tone of the email. No, I did not read the tone of the email. It was the
You just
fact
know
that
her.
that that language was there's something's missing. There's a very good chance that, let's say there's a 10% chance we just won $60 million in a lotto. Great. 90% chance something's gone wrong.
Mm.
it actually gave me time to prepare.
Hmm.
And something had gone wrong, which I can't share with at the moment. She's fine. But it was interesting how that change of language, the lack of information actually gave me time to prepare. But if my friend Peter or my friend Julie said, please come downstairs and meet me, it's like that's a world of choice.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is it good? Is it bad? Are we going for coffee? Are you bringing me music? It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Um, and it's actually, Cara, from your perspective, and again, I've had this myself at school. A parent sends you an email and like, I need to talk to you. It's like, okay, number one, I'm always going to go, is the child okay? That's
Yeah.
my number one concern. Are they sick? Have they injured themselves? How can I help? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then you do the gut check.
Yeah.
Okay, this child is actually doing okay academically.
What could this be about? Yeah.
Anxiety.
Hmm.
Yeah. For me, I think I end up fairly rarely scheduling, let's talk in a week about something vague. And I mostly do that with my supervisor when I can't fully convey or understand our perspectives through Slack messages, which is my main mode of talking to him. And then it ends up being like a 15 to half hour meeting of me checking in on everything I can think of
Yeah.
and being like, cool. And then he's like, cool. And then everything is fine for another month.
Yeah. I love that.
But yeah, no, I definitely understand the vague message
Hmm.
anxiety.
I get
Hmm.
criticized from the only person in the world. No, I shouldn't say the only person in the world, but the person in the world who criticizes me the most, which again is my wife. And I'm completely happy for it.
As it should be.
I don't give her enough context.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, I acknowledge that. And sometimes it's like, oh my God, can you not read my mind? Because you usually do. And it's interesting how, Morse has a really good book about context blindness, how we need to be aware both ends. How often we do need to make sure that because of the way we process information extremely efficiently very often, and we
Hmm.
don't explain often what the 3 points before the most important point is, that sometimes we do need to give more context, but vice versa.
Yeah, I definitely have that issue with my supervisor. I will send him something and forget to explain how I arrived to that conclusion. Then he will argue with me for like, not argue, but
Yeah.
debate,
Yeah.
dialogue, for like a good hour, and then I'll be like, "Oh, I forgot to tell you.
Mm.
This is my very good reason for doing this." And then he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, you should have given me that context."
I remember very much doing that academically. There's a couple of papers that I wrote in the 80s, which one was actually just re-referenced recently, and I am ashamed because I look and it's like, this doesn't make sense because I didn't cite 10 or 15 articles because it was so obvious.
Yeah,
That's
Um,
true.
that's definitely how I feel when I look at my old undergrad papers, like
mm.
where I'm missing 10 steps in the thinking process here to
Oh no.
explain how I came to this.
I hate looking back sometimes at things for all of these reasons.
You know what? I think it's really important that we do, though. And
No, for
if I
sure.
may share again, I never finished my PhD because I got too busy being a musician yet again. And that's okay. But when I look back at some of the work I was doing, I was doing 3 PhDs simultaneously. And the PhD should have been why I wanted to answer the first question, which led on to the more important question, which is kind of the postdoc stuff. And
Yeah.
I was completely unaware of it at the time, and I was undiagnosed. But I think it's important for us to look back at old work and go, I'm seeing what the problem is now. I'm seeing why this didn't work. I'm seeing
Hmm.
why, yeah.
I think
Hmm.
it's important but very painful.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
will definitely be doing the same thing in like 5 years. I will look back on what I'm writing now and I will say that it's awful.
Yeah.
Probably,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, because we grow and do better as we go and learn more and come from different angles than we used to.
We're curious.
Yes.
I'd like to switch, if I may, Kara, may I switch topics?
Of course you may.
So, Michelle, you dropped a little bit of information, a little dollop of you're a polyglot.
Uh-huh.
And that you said you speak 3 languages, and languages don't matter particularly, but you said it's not politically correct about all 3 of your languages. What's wrong with English? I'll leave the other 2 out.
In Europe, I feel like Americans and people with a semi-American accent are perceived in a not ideal way.
Yes.
So less so here, but when I was recently in Europe, or like even in Quebec, you don't have to go that far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone, I mean, I think regardless of the language, someone is always going to have a problem with something.
Okay. True.
But mine are just a specific combination that a lot of people seem to have a problem with in many places.
It's interesting. I did not know. I was guessing your ethnic background, and I just had Slavic because there's a Slavic sound to your language. English is completely. It was like, it's very interesting that anybody in Europe would hear you anything else other than a non-native English speaker speaking English with an accent.
I get a lot of different comments on my accent, and I think the most honest one is that I have an accent in every language I speak. And a lot of Canadians though don't necessarily immediately realize that I'm not Canadian.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if I believe them or not. Because I feel like I have an accent, but
That's interesting. I know what I have an outsider's perspective still on this, in the fact that because I have, now what was the word? What's the word when you have an accent, an English accent that's somewhat North American, somewhat England English? What do you call it? Mid-Atlantic accent?
Well, that was like the fake Hollywood one, wasn't it?
yeah.
So I have a mid-Pacific accent, which I think is an absolutely brilliant view. Accents are really, they're really important to me. Like, I pick them up instantaneously. So things like, you said the phrase like which surprises me. I was like, every word was not a native English pronunciation. It's so obvious, and yet it's not. There's no language problem. It's just a different accent.
Yeah. And I think I also I have that thing where I talk to someone and then I pick up their accent and then I feel horrible about it because they think I'm imitating them, and I have very little control over that fact. But yeah, no, even when I was in Montreal for my fellowship thing, meeting my fellows, half of them were like, I didn't know you weren't Canadian. Or half of even the faculty and whatever, they're like, oh, okay. Didn't know that. And I'm like, this is how? First of all, my name is bizarre. Second of all, I feel like I very much feel like I have an accent, especially when I get tired and drink anything. Just comes out.
A friend from Boston, and the only time you knew he was from Boston was when he was drinking and you asked him to say chowder.
Chowder.
It's very funny.
Yeah. But I have an accent in every language I speak, I think.
It's the defense of the people not understanding or not recognizing you're Canadian is actually a good thing. In fact, we do live in a country where people can be born in the country yet have an accent because family speak different language at home. And same thing in Australia. There many of my friends, if you met them when they were like teenagers, you go, oh, you're Greek or you're Italian. No, they were born in Australia, sometimes even second generation. It's just that it is Italian or Greek with the language spoken at home. So of course you pick up that. Interesting question for you two both. Is this accent mimicking, which I know so many of us do. Do you think this is part of echolalia?
I don't know if echolalia or masking or yeah, I'm not sure. Like I can't tell if it's like a stimmy thing because it's fun to do accents
Yeah,
or
yeah,
if I'm just like trying so hard to mirror the other person that I end up literally mimicking them.
yeah. I wish Maya was here to speak to this because Maya,
Wow.
oh, it's so interesting. So she's our other co-host. She's from Denmark, and uh, she's worked with Tony Atwood quite a bit, and she went over and stayed in Australia at some point, I think in her early 20s. And while she was there, she like perfectly, well, she was able to do an Australian accent, but when she was with Tony, she does a perfect like Oxford English accent.
Oh,
You know,
we could do a podcast of just Maya doing accents and me picking
exactly.
up which region she's trying to be from.
When she's with us, she sounds very like North American, very
Yeah.
her. And then I interviewed both of them because they wrote a book together. I interviewed both of them, and she like her accent was all over the place because it was like, who do I mimic? Who do I? It was very
Yeah.
funny, and there were so many comments on the video from people who've only seen her in our podcast, for instance, going, "She's British. Like, what is this?" You know. And for her, it's not necessarily a conscious choice, though she can do it as a conscious choice. It just sort of just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Also,
funny.
for me,
Go on, Michelle. Go on.
sorry. Um, the accents that I have in my non-English languages are not always like the accents of the other languages. Like, so I don't speak fluent French or Spanish, but I would get like that I have French or Spanish accents in
Oh,
my other languages, which I don't know why that would be the case.
that's really fascinating.
Actually, it's interesting. The two other languages, and we won't cross that line, but the other languages you speak have a similar, there's a similar
Placement?
phonemic
Yeah.
similarity with them. No, obviously, you know, when you start thinking about the history, that doesn't make it's not so stupid, but it's interesting. That doesn't surprise me what the
Yeah.
responses you're
I
getting.
mean, I think it's because of the R sounds and my
Hmm.
difficulty with R sounds in general.
I'm
But
struggling with
also,
the French R.
uh,
Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. I
It's
just
genetic.
avoid.
It's really genetic that they're rolling the
Well,
R.
but in French, it's not like a roll. Like I can roll my R's the way like Italians roll their R's, but French, it's more of like a guttural, like back of the
yeah,
tongue thing. And that is what I have not mastered. So I never
yeah.
say my partner's name.
Actually, you don't, do you?
No,
You
no.
throw
Well,
the
more
R
like
away.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But when I ask you about your partner,
I use his initial all the time.
well, no, you say his name, but it's like the opening vowel and closing consonant are very clear, but the thing in the
It
middle
gets all
is like
garbled.
it's sort of and please not a criticism, but now that you've said that, it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Yeah,
I'm
okay.
working on it. Just not that confident yet.
And again, this is where I always say, don't ever try and speak Mongolian.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Probably won't. So thank you for the advanced warning.
Yeah, just, I mean, most guttural language on Earth. Oh, actually, there's probably some. Yeah.
I am curious though, Michelle. All right. Ideal world kind of question. This is really out there.
Okay.
So, ideal world, tomorrow you wake up and you are allowed to create a model for evaluation and neuroform affirmative care. What would you do? I know it's a huge question.
Okay.
What
Um,
would you like to see?
I mean, it's very hard for me to do because I'm so focused on don't treat us as a monolith and just talk to us
Yeah, yeah.
that I guess that is what I would do. Just make people actually listen to other people
Be
rather
curious. Yeah.
than make hundreds and thousands of different assumptions and
Every every time we bring this up, and Kara, you and I struggled with this like years ago. It's like, it is so obvious. Like,
Yeah. My whole book is like, just ask.
Yeah.
Just talk to children or students, like find out what their barriers are. Don't assume.
Yeah.
or check your assumptions.
Check your, you can go in with
That's
a hypothesis, but you need to be open to the fact that, like, that's not going to have a 100% success rate, probably much lower, you know.
I'm doing some work at the moment with the guest with whom we recorded last week and 2 weeks ago. I don't know when her episode's coming out, and we're looking at a guide for basically palliative care across the country. And I'm looking at the documents that they're working with now, and there's no content. There's so no content, and then they want us to bring a neuroaffirming perspective to it, and it's like, this is all so obvious. It's not to that we seeing a patient. Don't make your assumptions. Don't make your assumptions when they walk in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about, well, there has to be assumptions, and it's like, okay, in fact, when you talk about palliative care and you're having your first meeting, let's say it's with a doctor, the doctor's going to know this person has a medical condition. And because we're talking about palliative, it's possibly near end of life or needs some, that's an assumption you can make. This is not to say throw everything out the window, you don't have to make any assumptions. That's completely fine. That person is coming in with a medical problem difference. That's about it, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think at some point I wrote a script for like informative video for occupational therapists on how to like interact or treat autistic people who are seeking care.
Yeah.
And it was so like basic to me, but I got so angry writing that script. I'm like, just listen to people and assume that they have the capacity to know that something is wrong and don't gaslight them into thinking that it isn't.
Yeah, yeah. Or privilege one form of communication over another. Like, how can you get that information from them? Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So a very basic answer, but I think it is still not the case, unfortunately.
If you think about wheelchair users, it's people with major mobility issues, that's mobility differences. There are big fights. There were big fights in probably, let's say, the 70s and 80s of making sure that building codes were changed to allow people with mobility devices to have easier access. Like, it's a big fight. It's a big fight. I look at that, and when I used to give presentations, or I'm still doing presentations, I talk about disability and how, as in the sort of Western world, very specifically, we've acknowledged that as a problem with disabilities, because it's obvious. It's a visual disability. What we're asking for is a lot bigger, but a lot less work.
Yeah.
We don't have to rebuild buildings to to help neurodivergent people. Although, funnily enough, I'm on a council to build building codes for neurodivergent people. But it's not that big. I mean, it's big, but it's not that invasive. It is very simple. Assume competency, just ask. Assume competency, just ask. Assume competency,
But
just.
we're up against such a profound cultural shift that is necessary to have that happen, because I always go back to the work of Dr. Robert Chapman and sort of the framing of autism as incompatible with well-being, right? And even having reviewed so many papers and blogs and things about different aspects of neurodivergence. So looking at dyslexia, looking at ADHD, looking at things like that, and how it's framed for parents, how it's framed for teachers, those are all done pretty positively. It'll be like, it's a brain wiring difference, and these will be some of the hard parts, but here, there's so much creative strength and blah blah blah. And the narratives around autism are so deficit oriented, so like fear based because it's such an industry too, where parents are sold things based on fear. And so we have to undo so much of that to get to a place, I think, where, um, yeah, it's seen in a way where we are reliable narrators in our own stories.
And yet, psychological research from the 50s are talking about how people are not do not recall things accurately.
Yeah.
The gorilla video comes to mind straight
Yes,
away.
yes, yes.
And then also there's some studies I remember about recall, like how much we should trust witnesses.
Well, and autistic witnesses do better.
And I think, I mean, I'm a big advocate for dialogue, as you know,
Yes.
Bruce, um, and for multiple perspectives, but that doesn't like the inherent difficulties in introspection and our ability to know ourselves doesn't mean that autistic people can't know themselves.
No.
I think it just means that you need to include us in the conversation about
I,
knowing us.
I actually think many of us know ourselves better than because we spend so much time
Exactly.
processing our experiences and thinking deeply in ways that maybe other people aren't as challenged to do. But Robert Chapman's work is interesting because he does talk about how the myths are either you are so profoundly autistic that you can't be trusted, or or it's sort of like the opposite, like you're if you're not acknowledging that your life is terrible, then you're unreliable as well, like you just don't know how bad you have it. So he looks at how it's positioned, like the framing of autism in media to create this grand tragedy narrative, that obviously is not true, but yeah, those are sort of the two extremes. You can't make decisions for yourself. You're such a lost cause, or you're not autistic enough, or you just don't have insights into your own experiences. So all of it comes at it from this tragedy narrative that removes agency and voice from autistic people.
And I think there's also like the counterpart of that where we're some kind of, Rain Man geniuses.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I saw that exactly, but I think it was on some test, not my student, not a direct quote, not an exact anything, don't sue me. But I think someone said, autistic people are not just idiots, they can sometimes be savants. And those are
Oh,
kind of the two extremes in the popular mind. Uh,
yes.
And of course,
and both of them are tragedies.
And yeah, exactly. And such binary thinking as well. Like,
and also we've talked, I mean, Cara and I have talked about this before, and I know the same thing with Maya and Michelle. I'm going to guess the same thing for you. I mean, both Cara and I Cara, you were in the gifted program. I didn't have gifted programs. I was just
I
pushed
wasn't in the
into it.
gifted program, but I
Oh,
was gifted.
okay. So me as well. And there's certain things for me that are like, I'm in 0.0001% of the world that can do this at the drop of a hat. I understand that. But boy, oh boy, do people not see the problems with that.
Yeah, yeah. And all the things that are just so overwhelmingly hard all of the time that people don't have the window into, right? Like they don't see the internal experience, and yeah, just it's awful.
I had a horrible 2 weeks a
I'm
couple of weeks
sorry.
ago, a month ago. And no, I expect people to laugh at this, but
Okay.
this is the reality, kind of emphasizing the point. My trio has a big concert in a week. My orchestra has their first rehearsal in a week. We are also playing at a Polish National Festival. I have been writing music, writing and writing and writing, and this is the stuff I can do at a drop of a hat. You ask me to write a waltz, and I can have it done in 10 minutes.
Mm.
It's fine. I was asked to arrange a certain piece of music, and for 2 weeks, I basically couldn't do anything else because this arrangement did not work.
Mm.
It was hot. So again, my self-regulation was pretty off center at the time, but it was literally painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to finally, after 2 weeks, realize that it wasn't working. And it was so difficult because me not being able to arrange a certain piece of music is like almost impossible.
Mhm.
I finally gave myself permission, didn't do the music, came up with another idea. Within half an hour, I had like 4 minutes worth of music written for a brand new piece. And it's like, okay, yeah. But it like being painful because I
Yeah,
could not
yeah,
finish an arrangement
yeah.
that I think I should have.
I had a complete meltdown also about two weeks ago. I was trying to get through to someone on the phone at CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, and they just like loop you in this like nine circles of hell. Um, uh, and you like it doesn't matter what button you press, there's no option to speak to a person. And I finally got to a point where it was like, okay, we will call you back when you're next in line. Do you accept this? So I was like, yes, I accept this. They called back. I was very excited. Next in line. But then I had to log into my account. But because of the multi-factor um, that comes up on my phone, when I went to press it, it comes up in the same spot as the hang up button.
Yep.
So I pressed it and then hung up
Mhm.
and I couldn't get through again. And I even tried to get to the same page where it was like, we'll call you back. And they were like, we don't recognize your account anymore. So it's like I couldn't get through. And I sobbed uncontrollably, wordless. Like it was, I had the biggest reaction I've had in a long time. Like I was useless, like probably another 24 hours. Like it just took so I was like 3 hours of me on the phone. And it like it the distress that I felt was certainly like disproportionate to what many people might feel, but it was just like completely debilitating. People don't see that, right? They don't. They'll be like, "Oh, you you wrote a book, you do all these things." Like,
Mm.
but I also have complete meltdowns and times when my functioning varies, like
Oh,
my
for sure.
ability to word varies.
My ability to tolerate having 20
Right.
things on my plate and
Yeah.
having deadlines and having to write things, which I generally enjoy doing.
Mhm.
But then when I get stuck, I've cried over many papers,
Yes, the getting
and
stuck.
writing is still one of my favorite things.
A-
So,
Agreed. It's a stressful process, but it can be so great, but also really painful at
yeah.
times. Yeah, yeah. Now, I also wanted to ask you about collections because you talked
Mm.
about you love to curate collections. So, yeah, what do you collect?
So many things. Um, I have an obnoxious amount of bags and shoes, but specifically like vintage Coach bags,
Oh, interesting.
um, from before 2000.
You
Uh,
don't need eye tracking software, eye tracking machines. Sorry.
all I need is bags.
Yeah.
Um, I have the Avon Cape Cod collection, which is a very specific color that gives my brain tinglies, and
Ooh,
it's like glassware,
yeah.
um, that I'm obsessed with and I'm staring at right now,
Oh,
which is why my eyes go up.
yeah.
Um, I have my tattoos, which
Nice.
I'm covered in and running out of room, so I'm slowing down, but the thing that counts. Yeah, one thing ends, another thing begins. It used to be
Yeah.
quotes.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't have any off the top of my head, so don't ask me. But
But just like things that inspired you, things
yeah, just
that,
like I would obsessively look at quotes or like read books and look for a sentence or two that I'm into and then
yeah.
would write it down in like a notebook. And I had a notebook full of quotes.
Oh, I love
And
that.
this wasn't it wasn't the subject matter, but the way it was written, right? You weren't like looking at quotes on psychology or
So it was mostly like, I guess, philosophical
Quotes that
or like
resonate.
the meaning of life
Mhm.
type thing, but not necessarily. Some of it I was just like, yo, that's a cool quote. That sounds cool. I will note that.
I like those words and how they feel in my
Yeah.
mouth.
boy, diagnosis is so easy.
I
This is why we should write some criteria, you know?
Oh God.
But
And I think so one time I met someone from my home country and I was like, yeah, I got diagnosed in Canada. And they were like, well, how would they know the cultural context to diagnose you? And I was like, well, in my home country, they didn't have the cultural context to understand my immigrant family to diagnose me. So what, do I need to go back like a few countries
Yeah,
so that
exactly.
they can hopefully understand the cultural context to diagnose me? I don't think that's how it works.
Actually, can we, if we could, it was a comment we made, you raised, and I made in my head. Diagnosis. Okay, they wanted this eye tracking machine wanted to do a DX in 4 minutes. My question is, what do you think? And this is a general question. Like, what's the minimum time for diagnosis?
I think that's very complicated.
Mhm.
I feel weird about diagnoses in general. I don't think they're necessary. Like if I had to revamp everything, I might do like a peer review thing. I think that's much
Yeah.
cooler, and I honestly trust the opinions of autistic people way more than I do of non-autistic clinicians.
Yeah.
My trust in the medical system in general is not good. Uh,
Very, very, yes.
uh, but like I think you really need to know and understand a person and come from an open-minded
Mhm.
space and know a lot about autism and autistic people and the culture around autism where you are. And there's so many things.
Mhm.
My faith in diagnosis is not good. Is I
Well,
think kind of
and how we might ask or answer questions or not answer subtle questions or what the question's really getting at that they worded badly. Um, I went to a place where the diagnosticians were all neurodivergent, which made it so much less like less dreadful, full of dread, like less yeah, it was a lot easier. I felt understood. They didn't make me do a whole bunch of Likert scales. They asked questions and I think they filled out the Likert scale for me, which is great because I can't do those things. I overthink them like an existential crisis. Um, and there was just this like comfort level that they're going to understand when I say something what it means. And if I'm not answering something, they're going to ask it clearly for me. Just yeah, like so much easier.
and I think a lot of the diagnostic tools that are used are not built for
Adults,
adults, women,
yeah.
masking,
Anyone who's not an 8-year-old middle class
gender diverse
white boy.
people, different cultures,
Yeah.
etc. Um, so like I've heard of adults doing child assessments and then
Me
maybe
too. I know people who've been given some of those stupid tests. Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Like I
Yeah.
think I did some assessment at some point, but a lot of it was based on like an honest discussion with my psychiatrist,
Yes.
which I think is kind of the best way to do it without getting into all of my issues and categorizing autism as its own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand the question was possibly a little weighted because, of course, I'm talking to 3 diagnosed or autistic people. I miss Maya here because she's now moving to that as a more full-time job. But it's sort of interesting, if I may, Cara, share your experience. So, Cara, I met before she was diagnosed, but you had an ADHD diagnosis, right?
No, I did
No?
not.
Okay.
No.
And one, it's like this person is, even then, I thought she was the best autistic educator in the country, which is unusual for a non-autistic person. Within, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes of us talking, it's like, okay, you're autistic. And I encourage, and then all our friends encourage. Michelle, she wrote this much preparation paper to go in for, and
It was
I
almost 8,000 words. It was like seven.
walking into a diagnosis assessment with that much paper, the person should have just gone,
They did.
tick.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were like, "You've done our work for us because I categorized everything and like I charted traits across time, like how this
Yeah.
manifested in childhood, how it manifests today. Like,
Oh God, I have so many narratives written of like the time of me trying to make sense of my life in the context of autism. So I get that. Yeah.
yeah. And then it's amazing like how much you still have missed because you process so much post-diagnosis, like as you
Yeah.
go through life where something else jumps up out
Yeah.
at you, right? Like all the time, that still happens.
And I also like I had a similar experience of like meeting people and being like, something's wrong with you in a good way. And then them being like, so do you think I'm autistic? And me being like, yes.
Yes, I do.
I'm slightly devastated. I was devastated to find out my good friend, and I won't mention their name, who told me that they were ADHD and had a diagnosis last year, got re-diagnosed and they don't. And it's like I'm a little, it's like I've lost a core part of my friend because so much of their behavior is very much ADHD. And now some of it is like, oh, so you're just really badly organized. And
I mean, but also like, do you trust that re-diagnosis?
he does, and that's it. Like that's perspective. Yeah. Do I actually? No, I don't fully trust. I think he is certainly enough. He ticks enough traits for me, but yeah, it's interesting how that fact of me being able to pick up, diagnosing people almost within minutes, ha ha ha. But then when I'm wrong, how devastating that can be. Especially, I mean, he's a very good friend, and I've now known him for 3 years. Yeah. I'm going to watch time because we're really trying to make our podcasts not 3-hour discussions, much as I love
I
them.
mean, I like long form podcasts and long
Mm.
form articles,
Why
but
not?
yeah. But
Yeah.
I do want to know about the songs you like to listen to on repeat.
Oh God.
And
Well,
how often is
gonna
this? Is
be
this like
out
all the
because
time?
it's all like my parents' Russian rock that they listen to in the car.
Yeah.
Um, and then the emo songs I was obsessed with in middle school,
The nostalgia vibes. Okay.
and then like actual bands and music that I got exposed to here, and then the random TikTok stuff that
Oh,
I get stuck on and is like rotting my brain.
oh, for sure. I hear you
So,
there.
and then I have this weird situation when I have a broad taste,
Hmm.
if you could say that, but it's the same things over and over, so I know nothing about like a lot of things in music.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I have like the folder for classical music
Gotcha.
from when I was trying to like learn a piano, and also because my parents would listen to it.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
And and will you listen to like one song on repeat for a long time, or is it like a playlist
So it
or mood
depends.
dependent?
When I initially get stuck on the song, it's the same song. I
Mhm.
think okay, so I was driving, not I, my partner was driving us from Vancouver to Banff after the conference in the spring.
You were in Vancouver?
I wasn't for like a day. I would have messaged you otherwise. I'm sorry. Um but we were driving for 2 days and I made him listen to the same song over and over again
Oh my
that I got
gosh.
stuck on. It's lucky that he's also autistic, because otherwise I don't know if he would like murder me or something, but it was the same song. But like the mangoes, something flawed mangoes, I don't know. It was on TikTok. It got stuck in my head. I was listening on it for literally like 48 hours straight.
Yeah, yeah. And then what happens? Because I that's not one of the things that I do like with a song. So like at what point can you move on? Like what happens?
Like at some point my brain doesn't go, yes, need to listen to it again.
The itch is just scratched.
Yeah. And then it goes into my playlist and the playlist loops instead of the song
Okay.
itself.
So it's like, Shoppers Drug Mart at Christmas time. Like the same songs. Yeah.
And then like once I feel like I need that I have the itch for the itch, then I
Okay.
need to look for a new song to
Yeah,
make an
yeah.
itch to scratch.
Okay,
And
You
interesting.
then,
you look for a song.
Yeah, a new song
yeah,
to that makes sense to me. Something that feels good and you want to
yeah.
hear and
The question for me is,
hmm,
looking for it is active. I would have assumed it may have been passive. In other words, you heard it on Spotify random.
So I don't have Spotify, but I will like,
Neoliberalism. There we go. Sorry.
yeah, I don't know. I either scroll on TikTok until I find a sound that I like, or I
mhm.
actively like look up bands, the style of music which I know I've
Yeah.
liked before, and then I'm like, okay, let me listen to your entire album and see if something sticks.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I like that.
How random. That's so like, and I mean that I cannot possibly understand that like at
Yeah.
all. Um,
But
what an interesting perspective.
it really like highlights for me. I'm going to make a hypothesis. Please correct me if this is incorrect. But I think it speaks to just like the pleasure and the comfort of something that you enjoy listening to and over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like people will talk to me about music because like I like music a lot, obviously, but I have such a narrow focus
Mhm.
on what I like that again, like I end up missing out on so many things. And people will be like, "Well, you would love that band." And I'm like, "Cool. When I have brain space to
Yes.
find a new itch to enjoy, I will look into that."
Yes. Okay. When I was, a preteen slash teen, I used to get like the CDs mailed to you. Like you could get like order CDs and they would all come. And I actually realized at a certain point it was like I can no longer collect music because I'm gonna be broke because I have very eclectic tastes. I love music, and it sort of shut down the not shut down the interest totally for me, but it's like I stopped being voracious about going down rabbit holes with musicians, albums, things like that, because I would never be able to collect it all. It's like the Library of Alexandria, like it just so much stuff that I felt like this is not a passion I can pursue. And this was before things like Spotify, but even then, I've never gotten fully back into exploring a ton of music because just how big a task it feels like to listen to and find all of the music I will enjoy because I will enjoy
I feel
much of
like
it.
that whenever so I had again in the Montreal thing that I was at, people were talking about movies and like choosing what's your favorite movie. I'm like, I would have to stare at a list of all of the movies I've ever watched and then spend like hours comparing and contrasting them
Yeah,
in order
yeah,
to decide that.
yeah,
And then they're like narrowing the question for me and they're like, just give me a name of the movie that you think about that you like. And I'm like, okay.
yeah. Well, and it's like favorites are harder than like, are there a couple that I really like? I can give you that list probably, but again, having a list to read through would help me more because I
Yeah.
can't always keep them in my brain. Um,
And
but
I've had that experience of like running into a movie that I forgot about and I'm like, I used to love that so
yeah,
much. Now I need to rewatch it twice.
yeah, yeah.
That
And
happened to me with Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. It's a film I watched when it first came out, and then
Mhm.
I absolutely loved the music, and I actually play the music in concert all the time. But I hadn't watched the
Yeah,
film
yeah.
until I realized I should get the film. Bought it from
Mhm.
Criteria and watched it 4 or 5 times. Cara,
Yeah.
I need to say, please don't go back into like don't go down the rabbit holes. There was a paper, well, blog post, something um, 3 days ago that stated if music stopped being produced today, it's actually impossible for anybody to listen to all the music on Spotify until the end of the universe.
and that's the same with movies probably and books and
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. And I'm just
Books are the other one. Yeah,
I
Well,
have
yeah.
FOMO.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I've just sort of given up, so it's it's like, what's the point? Because I never will.
I'll just do the same thing over and over again
Yeah.
and ignore the rest.
Uh, yeah, and I
So
mean,
Michelle, what's your favorite movie?
Oh God. I don't know.
it's interesting that I mean, obviously I have similar tendencies, but for music, because I can actively and passively listen,
Mhm. Oh,
it's
that's a good point.
it's a lot easier for me to sort of not worry about going down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
With movies, I'm not a movie watcher because I used to work, and still do, sort of work in the industry as a composer, and so watching a movie can sometimes be work. In other words,
Mhm.
I'm listening to it, how can the score be? But I have kept these are my kind of favorite films.
Mhm.
And it is interesting, like I've got, it was like three or four. I got Criteria DVDs and Blu-rays just down there. And I do remember coming across one thinking, oh, this is such a good film. And I bought it to share with Meredith and I watched it. It's like, huh, that's not so good. And what this we talked about this with Mitch earlier last week. MASH, watching the first three seasons of MASH, which is universally top 10 show of all time. It's horrible.
Doesn't live
It's
up to the
actually
hype.
well,
Or what you remember it being. Yeah.
and I think it definitely MASH does grow. Like that's the
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
thing about that show. I mean, yeah, we can thank Alan Alda for that. But it's like demonstrably, it's trash from a contemporary perspective.
Well, and this is why I think it's hard to answer sometimes like favorite shows or shows you like, because I have shows that I recognize are like quality shows that I enjoy, but then I also have the passive shows or movies that I know are trashy that I would never tell people that they would like,
So
but that
I do
I find
tell
comfort.
people.
You're like,
But like I think I'm also more of a TV show person rather than
me
a movie
too. I don't do
person.
movies as much anymore. Like,
I do watch them, but also like the newer, and not to sound like a snob, but like all of the remaking of
I
my
hate that.
favorite childhood movies. Stop that. I'm
Yeah.
not a fan. But like if you want a quality show, I'd be like, I love The Good Place. It's one of the favorite
Oh,
things that I've ever.
yes. Yes.
I would
Hands
also
down.
say my comfort show and a thing that I really love is Supernatural, and I would not recommend it to anyone because I don't think it's good.
It's like me and Grey's Anatomy now.
Yeah, I just adore it.
Yeah, it just
Su-
feels good to be in that place.
Supernatural, you say, Michelle? Boy, do
Mhm.
I have three women you would love to meet.
Do put me in contact. I have nobody to talk to about this.
Uh, hang on. Now, Supernatural, is that is the 13, 14, 15 seasons
Oh
show,
yeah.
right? Okay. I will put you basically have just attached to my entire female aspect of my family and my best female friend.
Well, there you go.
There you go. You can have a little, almost like a book club, a show
And
club.
actually, um, Mitch's brother
Mhm.
are the two main characters, Bodyguard.
Bodyguard. Yeah, we just talked
No
with someone who's,
way.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And the film it was all filmed within
Yeah.
like 5 kilometers of me. Yeah. Anyway,
And
sorry. It's interesting. Like, so why are we so scared of sharing the schlock?
sorry, I have to interrupt
Yep.
for a second because you might be interested in this. I don't know. Mitch and his brother Cliff also did a supernatural fandom documentary. For 3 years, they went around and interviewed people all over. Anyway,
Jeez.
so yeah.
Small world.
Okay, now I have to tell Meredith about that. Well, probably Sky. My daughter is obsessed right at the moment with it. Um, why are we so
I mean, I
ashamed?
think it's vulnerable. It tells people a lot about you. Um, or it gets people to make a lot of assumptions about you.
I'm making guesses on you on that, and which is okay because I think I know you a little better than just like walking off the street, but I don't know you well enough. But there's a certain aspect about that show which, yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Well, like, because you could, well, I mean, you can watch something and know it's terrible, but it just is like comfortable or funny, or like you can turn your brain off.
I
When I was a
also, so I really get attached to characters
Me
and like
too.
archetypes. So it's less about the plot and how
Yeah,
good I think the storyline is
yeah.
and how much it makes me think. It's more about oh, the psychology of that character is interesting or relatable or tells me something new about myself. And then I get attached to that, even though the rest of it has various good and bad aspects.
Uh, well, and I mean, I can sometimes watch shows that don't meet any metrics for good television, but
Love on the
just
Spectrum, for instance.
yeah,
Come on, chick.
I do like that, I have to
Wait,
say.
Cara
But
and I have a very, very different opinion about that show.
yeah, we should do an episode on that. Yeah, when I was a teenager, I watched like the world's worst soap opera called Passions. It was so over the top, ridiculous, terrible, like but that was part of the point. Like it was like this is like why do people watch this? And I got sucked into it because it was like, how far are they going to go with this? This is ridiculous. Last week that person was, just just the illogical nature of it was what was compelling to me. So I'll like focus on like things that probably other people don't focus on, and that is
Yeah.
what get me in sometimes.
I love the fact that the television show Soap, which was a send-up of soap operas, ended up ending quicker than they were expecting because they'd become self-parodizing. They become a parody of themselves, and so therefore just turned into a soap, and it was like, oh gosh, we've got ourselves in a loop we can't get out of.
Yeah. Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing shows like The Simpsons is the one that comes to mind straight away, how it doesn't or hasn't fallen into that loop yet. Although I must admit, I haven't watched The Simpsons for probably 5 or 10
Well, like
years.
South Park is still going, and like all of these things that have just been on forever. I don't watch a lot of them, so I don't know, but yeah.
There is that, like, my wife watches schlock. And in fact, I'm going to say Grey's Anatomy, and I only say in the sense that I think Meredith's on her maybe 10th time through the entire season.
Mhm.
And it gives her a chance to turn her brain off. Her ADHD
Exactly.
brain needs that. And it's
Yeah.
something that I don't need, which is why I struggle with it. Like,
I
why
will
don't
miss parts of it because of my ADHD, because like I'll be watching it, but I might be doing something on my phone, or I might be like, oh, let's just pull up my laptop and work on the slideshow and have it on in the background. But like I'm half watching, but it's okay. It's a predictable formula, it
For me, so I'm not ADHD as far as I know. Um, and people have tried to diagnose me, but it didn't track. Um, and for me, it's really the like repetition and familiarity
Mhm.
and like that concept of comfort characters and comfort narratives and whatnot that gets me to rewatch things.
Yeah. When I was a child, like whenever I was homesick, so when I was quite young, I would watch the BBC The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe movie uh over and over again. So that was my like, and I still like, I haven't watched it as an adult, but it has such a fond place in my heart. And then when I was like 11, 12, I would watch All About Eve, which is like quite a long movie, but I watched that over and over again. Every time I was sick, it would be like
All
sitting that.
About Eve.
I loved All About Eve.
That's
Yeah.
an interesting repetitive comfort show.
I know. But Betty Davis, I loved her, but I loved that, like the story of the theater, the being usurped, the like, yeah, it was great.
The unfortunate thing about my childhood shows is that they're not particularly accessible to me anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know this because I was commissioned to write an anniversary piece, and when I was asking, like, what's the music they listened to when they were younger? This is a 50th anniversary, wedding anniversary. Their son said, oh, they used to listen to, there was some Russian music from the late 60s, early 70s they loved. So, okay, let me try and find it. And trying to find that stuff is difficult in the best of times. And then he finally found it. And so I transcribed the things and I wrote them, and sometimes it's really obvious. And then when I performed it, not a single person remembered. And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's too bad.
I used to watch some like Greek mythology cartoon thing, and I have no idea what it is.
Hercules.
to have them on the, I don't know what they're called, the black tapes, cassette, not what it,
Before
VHS.
yes,
VHS.
that, and that's the only version of that I had, and I have no idea what it is, what it's called, nothing.
That's really interesting too. Oh my gosh. Nostalgia.
And cultural nostalgia.
Uh-huh.
There was a show called Monkey. Monkey? Yeah.
Yes.
That was shown on ABC, the Australian government television channel. It was at either 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. It only went for 10 minutes. And it was horrible. I hated it. It was like, oh my, because I think the goodies were on next, or some other show I wanted to watch. And so I probably saw 30 or 40 of these things. And then, I'm doing ethnomusicology in my early 20s, and I find out that this is actually Chinese opera. And this is high, high, high Chinese culture. And I went back and went, oh my Lord, this is perfect Chinese opera. And what I was missing the cultural context, obviously, as a teenager, because it just was over the top. But then I found that it was like kept on being played on ABC because all the teenagers would come home and get high.
Oh,
And it was very druggy humor, but it was kind of interesting. This thing that's aimed at childhood, and it was badly dubbed, is actually high Chinese culture, and that I now super appreciate. And you also there's Buddhist aspects to it.
yeah. Oh wow.
It's like Greek mythology. You don't know where it's coming from.
You're making me think of like nostalgia just in general, and I forget how long, a couple of years ago, I don't even know why I went down this rabbit hole, but I discovered my favorite Crayola crayon color in the 90s was discontinued also in the 90s, and I was so sad. Yeah.
How does that happen?
I don't know. But now my living room is a very close approximation to that color, so I feel a bit better.
Have you done eBay searches?
No, I don't need it. I
Not
don't even like color. Like I find motor issues. I always found coloring frustrating. I still can't color in the lines, but the color, that one color, oh, I loved. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I'm over it.
it makes you realize that things that you think of like childhood crayons are actually advertising.
Yeah.
That the colors keep changing and just being discontinued just for this effect.
I'm like, how can you discontinue a color? I don't know. You should be able to make your own crayon box. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. There should be like, you know, how you go to the Lego store and you can get all the pieces. That you would be like, go to the crayon store and you're like, all right, I'm getting a box of 16. I want this and I want that. I would love that.
That's got to be possible.
Trademarking this idea, patenting it, whatever you have to do. Intellectual property.
That
I'd be
has to
very
be
autistic.
possible.
Yeah.
I don't know, I was never really into crayons. I was
Fair
a
enough.
pencil person.
Yeah.
Were you into Lego? Was Lego
No.
a thing?
No. I had some block that stick together thing, but it wasn't Lego. It was much bigger, and I was always more so a Barbie, Bratz, whatever person.
Yeah. Everyone has their own collections. Yeah.
Oh God.
I had Barbies too, actually. I liked some of the clothing, but
I had
yeah.
so many. I was a Webkins kid.
Okay, yeah, never got into that. Yeah. Yeah, definitely later. Yeah.
I'm showing my age by going, wow.
But I also
I
missed a
did
lot of the
have
yeah.
a Nokia brick phone, so
Oh,
I claim
hilarious.
to not being Gen Z. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. We had one in the car, like was like a family car phone that was like huge. Yeah. Oh, that takes me back. Well, this has been so lovely, and we had so many exciting tangents. I don't even know what we're going to title this article because sometimes we pull out the very obscure things we talk about and put it into the name. So Bruce and I will be strategizing to come
The
up
one
with a
thing
fun.
that I wanted to plug and I didn't,
Sure, please.
was that I just had a editorial come out
Ooh.
and it's titled "What is Autism? Identity in Jeopardy and the Collaborative Way Ahead." And I'm very happy with it.
I think I just saw that on LinkedIn or something. Like I
Maybe.
looked at that title somewhere.
Where is it?
I'll find it.
It's in Autism, like the journal,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
and I will need to make posts about it on.
I just saw something about this. Yeah.
That's an editorial is big. That's
Yeah, I'm kind of doing my academic career backwards, I think, because it's my first author paper.
Yeah, I just bookmarked this. Yeah, I found it.
wow.
Okay, tell us a bit
Congratulations.
about it. We'll make it our thing of the day.
Yeah.
Sometimes we highlight something that's our thing of the day. Tell us, yeah, what is the central premise of this editorial?
The central premise is dialogue and collaboration as needing to happen and listening to autistic people, and not
Not shoehorning us all into one concept of what autism is.
and the complexity and understanding what it is and the different angles and upheavals that are happening.
Yeah. I love that.
And I'm very proud of it. I'm very happy with being able to keep my Jeopardy pun in the title and
That's
my
hilarious.
one random Pushkin reference that nobody but me will probably notice.
Well, now we're going to be looking for it. So,
Good luck.
ooh.
I don't know if it's very identifiable, but it's there.
I love the opening. I've just like Googled it and found it. But the idea that ideas of neurodivergence have existed for as long as humans have conceived of an other, in quotations, from changelings to machines to and unchildlike children. Ooh, I can't wait to read this.
I was
I'm so
very proud of
excited.
that. For that, I also fought to keep that one in.
I
So
love that.
What was the problem with that line?
it wasn't a big problem. It's just, whenever there's multiple authors, people have different opinions and
Yeah.
preferences. And there was a point where I had to be like, I actually really like that and I'm attached to it. Can we keep it? And then we're like, of course. They were very kind, and very lovely. So, but
Is the what's the Kara, can you say the three
The three ones that were in
yeah.
Quotations: changelings,
Yeah.
machines, unchildlike children.
Is unchildlike children, has that been said before?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, because I think that's brilliant. That I think is that hits to me to the core in a really good way.
Yeah, I think that was referring to a paper by, and I might be wrong, but I think it was Sukhareva.
And Wolf. Yeah.
I mean, she characterized autistic children. I think she called one like maybe it was her, but young professor, maybe it was someone else.
That was young professor was
Asperger.
yes, I think it was Asperger or the other researcher at the same time.
But yeah, no, she also had like someone who really liked correcting people.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
talking.
No, that's not what they
right.
meant. That's not what she didn't say that. Sorry. I've not, that hasn't stuck to me before, but I think that is such a lovely, actually positive way to talk about our common experience. Especially because with my work at previous employer, I mainly work with adults, especially later diagnosed adults, and it was 100% of the time they knew something was wrong because they were not, as a child, not acting like other children.
Yeah.
Wrong in quotation
Yeah.
marks, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and I think about like sometimes when it's not pathologized, people will use the term like indigo children, which is like wise old soul, like yeah, I find that interesting. And then I wanted to pull up, how is it that, no, this is going to go down the road of ABA, but didn't I'd have to find it. There was an interview in like the 70s given by what's his face? I'm gonna find it. I'm pulling up my slides. Because if I don't scratch this itch, scratching the itch, that should go in the title.
Background music.
scratching or itches. Um,
Background searching
okay.
music.
Yeah, Ivor Lovis talked about how basically said you start pretty much from scratch when you work with an autistic child. You have a person in the physical sense. They have hair, a nose, and a mouth, but they are not people in the psychological sense.
Yeah.
One way to look at the job of helping autistic kids is to see it as a matter of constructing a person. You have the raw materials, but you have to build the person. So again, this
Tabula rasa, but in a really horrible way.
and I feel like it is still influencing how and why we are off. Well, things are getting better in the research world for sure. Like I've seen such a proliferation in the last like 5 years of autistic led or at least autistic informed research, but I think the influence of that type of thinking about autistic people has really excluded us in a way that other minority groups don't necessarily get excluded.
Yeah. And I
But
really wanted to include that because so a lot of it has been inspired by a class I took with my supervisor, and we had to read about those cases, and mine was from Sukhariva, and like I took it too far and I was basically acting out the kid. And he had that, like talking in quotes and being pedantic and all of those things that I think are lovely
Yeah,
but are described in this
such a negative
unfortunate
way.
way
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
And I think less so in her papers than I saw in others, but still,
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to read it. Thank you so much for bringing that even more to my like. I just bookmarked this 2 days ago, so
when was that published? Just recently?
I think it was just yesterday.
okay, maybe it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I saw this title. I was like, I have to read this. I didn't even notice it. Like, I didn't look at the authors because then I would have maybe made the connection that I was going to be talking to you. I would have read it in advance. That's so funny. Oh my
That's
gosh.
okay. I just need to plug it in places and make it visible
Yeah.
so that people can read it, criticize it, and think more.
I definitely saw it on LinkedIn. So, yeah.
I
So
don't
somebody
know on
somebody
LinkedIn.
posted it.
We'll see. Maybe it's my supervisor, maybe not.
Because I open LinkedIn is my favorite place because especially because I follow so many autistic people, I'm constantly coming across research that I want to read, either because to critique it or because it's like this actually looks like a joy to read. And so I have a whole bunch of tabs open
Yeah.
and it's all
I
the research I want to read.
I do that on X still, but I'm trying to shift away because I don't like it.
I'm never on there anymore. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave that up a year ago,
Yeah.
if not more.
Yeah. But that was something I liked about X. But now LinkedIn is scratching
Yeah,
that itch.
that's also what I heard, that the academia Twitter shifts to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I just need to reorganize who I
Yeah.
follow on LinkedIn because it's my past life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm on Blue Sky, which is similar in like the platform feel, but I don't find I've found that community yet. Like it's more political right now and less.
Well, my Blue Sky is very autism oriented, but
Okay.
then I don't feel like there's a lot of traffic
Yeah,
on
yeah,
there yet, maybe.
yeah, yeah. Okay. I'll follow you and then I'll start following people you're following and then maybe I'll have more of that autistic Twitter when it was good.
Yeah.
Before it became a hellscape and yeah. All right. Well, on that happy, cheerful note, thank you so much for being here, Michelle. It was such a pleasure to chat with you. I'm so excited to follow more of your research and hopefully chat with you again sometime and hear about the project once it wraps too. The project in which Bruce is a Bruce, what's the word?
Co-author, member?
Co-author.
Member and co-author.
And I say this has been an absolute pleasure, but also to share with everybody. This is kind of very much like this is kind of like the conversations we've had as part of the research, except you and I go off on little tangents sometimes, which
Yeah.
why I knew you'd be a perfect guest for a podcast.
Yeah, you fit
Yeah.
our brand perfectly.
Thank you for entertaining my plugs and tangents and rants.
Anytime, anytime. And you and I work at the same institution. We didn't even talk about that, but we'll we'll connect outside of this.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in and helping us go down some of those memory lane, nostalgia, scratching itches, and all sorts of good things.
Nostalgia's not what it used to be.
That's pretty funny. All right. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Autistic tidbits